Namaskar, good afternoon all. Kim Chu, Majamuchu. On behalf of the USAID and Tetra Tech, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to today's online meet of Rooftop PV EPC companies on experience of participating in vendor rating system. My name is Yogita and I'll be your moderator for today's event. It is indeed our pleasure to have you all here for this online meet. So we have one housekeeping announcement before I start the event. I would like to request everyone to be on mute to avoid background noises except the speaker. If you have any questions during the event, please write them in the chat box. We'll have short breaks during the presentation and a Q&A session at the end of to answer your questions. To begin today's event, I'm pleased to invite Dr. Jaya Kumar to deliver a welcome speech. But before that, I'll briefly introduce him. Dr. B. Jaya Kumar is one of the foremost experts in the clean technology space in India, having spent over 2 decades across the solar PV value chain. He's a founder of Arbiters Consulting. Dr. Jaya Kumar has worked in various countries like India, Indonesia, UK, USA, Austria, Spain, and Germany. Over to you, sir.
Am I okay? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Yogita. In fact, I saw the agenda. I was coming only on the third position, but suddenly you gave me a surprise, calling me first. Thank you very much for that. A small introduction, as you rightly said, I've been in the field for almost about 50 years, of which the last 3 decades I've been in the solar PV industry. I have seen it growing from microwatt level to watt and kilowatt and megawatt level and now gigawatt level. And I think it is not too early that you have started this program. I really appreciate USAID, MNRE, and CIA for this excellent initiative that you have taken. And I'm also welcoming all, basically on behalf of the CIA task force. Now, climate change, we used to be talking about theoretically, but I think we have seen close to the doors, having seen Chamoli, what is happening. And I think at this time of the year, the avalanche never used to take place. And most of the people think that this particular event has happened basically due to climate change. Now, one of the things that probably we are all working toward in the last 3-4 decades is how to mitigate climate change. One of the reasons being fossil fuels and the pollution. And renewable energy has been playing a very important part. And on the renewable energy, I must say that basically having done consultancy and engineering for almost about 18 gigawatt of projects in the country as a consultant, the rooftop system has not been gaining momentum. But now we see in the last 2-3 years, in the global level, it has already become a 66.8 billion industry. And it is growing at a CAGR of almost about 6.6%. On Indian market, if you see, it is almost growing around 88%. And it is likely to reach about 18 gigawatt, maybe by 2025. So rooftop system is extremely important, and one cannot just look at it as a dhaba industry. And I think understanding this very well, USAID, MNRE, and CIA has taken this initiative of VRF. Now, before going further, let me, on behalf of CIA and the task force, let me extend my warm welcome to this program to Mr. Rakesh Goyal, Team Leader of PACE, Ms. Julia Kennedy, Director of the Indo-Pacific Office, USAID, my close friend Anurag Mishra, and my old friend Arvind Karandikar. All these people, we have all had the opportunity of working together at one way or other. And Mr. Akhilesh Megal from Germany, and not the least, Sharat Saxena, who is a very close friend, compatriot, and also the colleague of mine in the industry as a whole, and in this task force in particular. Now, the most important thing that we have to see is the VRF. Now, rooftop system has been growing in a particular manner, and there has not been much focus on the rooftop system. It started with something like maybe in some small houses, because of the subsidy program, you could put a 500 watt system or you could put a 1 kilowatt system. But now it has moved to a very, very big industry. And I think it's rightly CI, basically USAID and MNRE thought about having a benchmark for this distributed system. And I think USAID has done a nearly perfect job. We had the opportunity of working on behalf of the task force for CIA to do the last mile refinement, mostly for giving the necessary feedback for so that the VRF system developed by people like Kardikar and others are able to come closer to 99.99%, which is basically the kind of things that we talk about in silicon, or on reducing the impurity to parts per billion level if you talk about semiconductor industry. So the task force, basically me, Sharad, and we had a couple of other very, very experienced people from the industry. We went through the task force meeting. I think we did almost about 4 to 5 meetings, and primarily we didn't have any major disagreement with the kind of findings and the recommendation made by USAID. Partly it was looked at technical, financial, and on-site. There has been some minor little kind of tinkering has to be done. Especially when a task force is created, we have to definitely make some tinkering to show that we are also contributing. So ultimately, I don't think that much is done, and the whole thing is likely to be completed probably in a month's time. So without much ado, I'm handing it over to you, Gita, and I really congratulate and wish you all the best for this experience of participating in the vendor rating system pilot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing insights on solar rooftop system. It was really encouraging to hear you. Now it is time to invite our very special guest from USAID. We have Miss Julia Kennedy today. Miss Kennedy is serving as Director Indo-Pacific Office at USAID India. Before joining USAID, Ms. Kennedy worked for the Department of State Climate Change Negotiations team and reported on environment issues for the US Embassy in Chad. Ms. Kennedy holds a master's degree in global environmental policy and a bachelor's degree in engineering from Brown University. She's from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so much, Ms. Kennedy, for accepting our invitation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Yogita, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to be here with all of you today to explore the lessons learned from our vendor rating pilot and thank the 10 rooftop solar engineering, procurement, and construction companies who participated. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the CII Green Business Center, as well as the members of the task force for their partnership and for taking the implementation of the vendor rating system to a national level. I already see substantial progress since we met last September. This pilot, which tested the rating system, is an important milestone. 2 years ago, as part of the United States government's Indo-Pacific vision, USAID launched the Asia Enhancing Growth and Development Through Energy, or Asia EDGE initiative, to improve access to affordable, secure, reliable, and sustainable energy for all across South Asia. Most countries in South Asia face a set of common challenges that hinder their ability to achieve these fundamental Asia EDGE goals. They utilize a limited set of resources to generate electricity through centralized generation units, and they depend heavily on imported fuels, which impedes their energy security. Most countries also face serious challenges due to inadequate and inefficient transmission and distribution systems. Fortunately, the South Asian region is also blessed with a wide variety of renewable energy resources, which can be used for distributed generation. The distributed solar potential alone, if fully developed, could sustainably support the region's existing and future energy needs and accelerate our transition to low-carbon energy systems. USAID, through its regional and bilateral initiatives, is addressing constraints in expanding rooftop solar across South Asia. Our bilateral cooperation with the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy on rooftop solar through the first phase of the US-India Partnership to Advance Clean Energy Deployment, otherwise known as PACE-D, led to significant outcomes, such as the development of a best practice guide, the establishment of 3 national training programs, support for state-level policies, regulations, and interconnection processes in 11 Indian states, a large-scale deployment with Indian Railways, the creation of state-level web portals, and the design of public outreach campaigns. India's rooftop solar market has grown rapidly at a compound annual growth rate of 88% in the last 5 years. However, this growth is still not enough to meet India's target of 40 gigawatts by 2022. In the second phase of our PACE-D program, now known as PACE-D 2.0 Renewable Energy, We are aligning our efforts to address remaining barriers that impact the deployment of rooftop solar. During this phase, we are working closely with MNRE to design new compensation models, integrate behind-the-meter energy storage with rooftop solar, enhance the quality and safety of rooftop solar systems, and devise new business models to encourage low-paying consumers to take advantage of distributed solar. In recent years, several market reports have pointed to serious concerns regarding the adoption of low-quality renewable energy equipment and poor installations, leading to shorter lifespans and lower generation, all factors which affect the financial viability of RE projects. These issues are emerging in small-scale rooftop solar systems, largely due to a lack of market maturity and consumer awareness. National and state governments subsidize these systems, and any loss of productivity reduces the subsidy's effectiveness and erodes public trust. To address this issue, the U.S. Department of Energy's National Renewable Energy Lab, working in partnership with USAID, conducted a comprehensive market assessment to pinpoint critical issues related to the quality and safety of rooftop solar systems in India. USAID then released this report at the US-India Strategic Energy Partnership's Renewable Energy Pillar meeting in July last year. The report recommended rating vendors as one possible solution to address many of these key challenges. In the last few months, industry stakeholders have shared an outpouring of encouraging feedback on the benefit of this rating system. The pilot project in Gujarat has not only helped us all grasp the practical implications of implementing a vendor rating program, but has also provided additional advice around quality and safety concerns related to rooftop solar systems. Without the interest and cooperation of our partners in Gujarat, we would never have gained these useful insights. So, my sincere thanks to you all for joining hands in piloting this system. Special thanks as well to our friends at the Gujarat Energy Management Institute, who coordinated and completed the pilot despite a variety of hurdles. Several factors affect the quality and safety of rooftop solar systems, and in some cases, the issues can be addressed with minimum or no financial investment. I hope today's discussion will not only provide valuable lessons learned for the national launch of the rating system, but will also provide beneficial feedback to our pilot partners so that they can improve the quality and safety of their installations in the future. We've purposefully limited today's participation so that we can discuss these issues openly and offer helpful guidance to sector leaders. As I mentioned earlier, we want this work to also help other nations in the Indo-Pacific enhance South Asia's economic and energy security, as well as establish India as a global leader in renewable energy technologies and the solutions needed to support using renewable energy at a large scale. I would also like to encourage all of us to consider ways this rating system could contribute to improving the quality of distributed solar installations in other South Asian countries. Finally, I am very pleased to award these certificates for your participation in our pilot program. Congratulations and all the best in keeping this work going. And with that, I turn it back over to Yogita or whoever will help us take the next steps with the certificates. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We all have been benefited by your incredibly thought-provoking special address. It was insightful, engaging, and informative. The time has come to celebrate the outstanding day. Dear participants, we are thankful to your voluntary participation in the pilot of vendor rating system for rooftop solar. Today could not have been possible without your endeavor. So we'll be virtually felicitating our esteemed participants with the certificates. Yes. So to begin with the certification, our first participant is Mr. Nilesh Talavia. We are pleased to give you the certificate of participation. Applog System is a sister firm of High Tech Group, since 97, involved in MFG sales and service of various power products like online UPS, servo, stabilized, CVT, etc. Congratulations, sir. Our next certificate is given to Shashwat Cleantech Private Limited. Shashwat Cleantech was founded in the year 2008. The company has installed approximately 85 megawatt installations. Shashwat Cleantech has been front runner in providing comprehensive, complete turnkey solutions to all solar photovoltaic requirements. Congratulations, Ms. Kunjan. Our next participant is from Yellow Fellow Energies LLP. The company was established in October 2017. It has executed solar rooftop projects of 4 megawatt plus, and it has empaneled with the JEDA and GUVNL. Congratulations, Mr. Viraj Shah. Our next certificate goes to Equinox Solar Private Limited. Equinox Solar started in the year 2013. The company has more than 2,200 customers, having cumulative installation capacity of approximately 26 megawatt. Company has experience of both residential and commercial installations, both rooftop and ground mounted. Congratulations, Mr. Chetan Gohil. The next certificate goes to Heaven Solar Energy Private Limited. The company started in 2017 as a startup. Total 400 plus clients they have. Major installations is residential RTPV. Last installation is 850 kilowatt. Present year installation is 1.2 megawatt. Congratulations, Mr. Deepak Khagar. Now I request Mr. Saxena to felicitate our other participants. Mr. Saxena.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Yogita. So the next felicitation is for Zodiac Energy Limited. And we have Mr. Sagar Chandarana representing them. Zodiac Energy started in 2012 and it has a ISO 9001-2015 certification and also ISO 14000 certification. Its portfolio includes 6,000 satisfied clients, 60 plus megawatt installations, and it has more than 8 years of solar experience. 450 plus megawatt solar projects developed by the management team. Congratulations, Mr. Sagar. The next certification is for Solix Energy Limited, which is represented by Mr. Kalpesh Patel, who is the managing director of the company. Solix Energy Limited has more than 25 years of experience in solar industry. Company started solar PV module manufacturing since year 2007, and it has the expertise in manufacturing solar water heaters, solar street lights, solar lanterns, and is in the process for the 1 gigawatt, expanding its capacity to 1 gigawatt module manufacturing facility. Extremely nice. Congratulations, Mr. Kalpesh Patel. The next felicitation is to Mrs. Gupta Industrial Maintenance Services Private Limited, which is represented here by Mr. Yash Gupta, Director. Gupta Industrial Maintenance Services Private Limited was formed in the year 1990 and is a one-stop service and product solution provider not only for the PV but in the field of engineering services. It serves a vast armada of services and manpower into conventional and combined cycle power plants, refineries, fertilizer plants, and cable industries. It is certified ISO 9000 company by TOV Nord, and it's empaneled with the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, MNRE, and is also GEDA channel partner. Congratulations, Mr. Yash Gupta. The next certificate is to Urja Strot Enterprise, and Urja Strot Enterprise is represented by Ms. Vedehi, who's the liaison head. And Urja Strot was founded in 2018. The company has installed around 11 megawatt and having 3,500 consumers. Major focus of the company is the residential sector, and the total manpower with the company is about 75 people, having youngest team members, average age of 30 years. Congratulations, Vedehi. The last certificate now goes to Forsun Solar. And Forsun Solar is represented here by Mr. Sagar Pipalia, who's a proprietor. It started in 2016. The company has installed more than 6 megawatts of EPC work. It has its own manufacturing facility for module mounting structures with and without tracking. The company has more than 500 residential customers with cumulative capacity of about 1.2 megawatts rooftop capacity. And the company is doing both residential and commercial installations. Congratulations, Mr. Sagar Pipalia, for this. Thank you. Over to you, Yogita.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Congratulations to all our participants. I request Ms. Julia to say a few congratulatory words on achievement to all our voluntary participants.
Sure, absolutely. It was great to get to see the names of all of the participants and to hear a little bit about what all those enterprises are doing. I'm thrilled that you guys were all part of this vendor rating pilot. I do think the results of the pilot is very important, both for the bankability of future projects as well as for making sure that the supply chains for solar equipment are strong as they need to be, and that consumer confidence remains high. So congratulations to you all for participating in this, and I hope that we can continue working together to bring this to an even larger scale. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now there is a special moment. We'll be virtually releasing a report. So now I would like to request Ms. Julia Kennedy, Mr. Anurag Mishra, Mr. Arvind Karandikar, and Dr. Rakesh Goel to virtually release the report on vendor rating framework experience from the pilot. So may I now request Mr. Anurag Mishra to share author's perspective on this report?
You are on mute.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Julia. And again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anurag Mishra, part of USAID Energy team here. And I think Julia and other colleagues from CIG, BCS kind of already provided the background. I just want to kind of add 2 additional points from my perspective. One is when we talk about a rating system, we have to really think about the benefits it provides to all the stakeholders. And specifically for this rating system, I just wanted to make sure that this rating system is beneficial for not only the investors, but also for the project developers. And that is the reason a very important aspect of this rating framework is the feedback loop, which provides additional insights to the EPC developers and drive continuous improvement. And this report actually captures the learning from this whole process, not just on what the rating framework does, but also on individual EPC developers. And today we'll have a chance to discuss some of them and also kind of share our thoughts on that. The second point is India is already looking at 450 gigawatts of renewable energy target by 2030. Although we have not heard that there is any kind of a target specified for rooftop solar, but one can guess that this is going to be in multiples of 40 gigawatt of target what we have now. And in that context, any market-based solution which provide kind of a better insights or kind of a solution like this rating program, which can enable like quick decision making as well as fast implementation of quality projects would be really, really important and significant. And that is the whole reason, again, this pilot project becomes quite important. And finally, I'd like to thank partners at CI, GBC, and Germany for this partnership. And I will hand it over to Yogita. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Please note that this report can be downloaded from our PASTE website. Now I request all our participants, our partners, USA team, Miss Julia, everyone to please open their video so that we can have a group photograph all together. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, everyone, for cooperating, and we'll share these group pics with everyone. So with this, we come to our second part of the event. Now I request Mr. Arvind Karandikar to set the tone for today's event. Before that, I would like to briefly introduce him. He has over 2 decades of experience in the global solar industry. He is the director, Nexus Energy Tech, a Pune-based consultancy company. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Yogita. And once again, welcome everyone and good afternoon. As everyone has already said, this particular pilot was a very important step in developing and then launching this vendor rating framework. And the presentations from the pilot test is going to be done by Jeremy. What I'm doing here very briefly is to take you through the journey that actually was traveled to develop this particular framework. But this is only 3-4 slides, and you can understand from all the people who have talked till now how much efforts have gone into this particular venture. What we started with was identifying different issues about quality and safety, and to see in which stages of the project life cycle these issues may crop up, and those are observed. So right from design stage to component procurement like inverters, structures, modules, and so on, and then installation stages and till O&M for the complete life cycle of the system. There were so many issues, those were revealed out of different interviews, different studies, those were taken up all over India. And then we tried to classify these issues into different stages. And as you can see on the slide, we also gave some weightage that how many issues are more recurring, more occurring, more frequent, and which are the more impacting issues. And that's how you can see here. For example, the component and quality, like module structure, JBs and rest, those actually are about 50% of commonly found issues are in this particular segment of the project life cycle. Whereas installation and quality is about 35%, which is also important. You can have best quality components, but if your workmanship installation is not good, those components are not going to perform and not going to last. And similarly, design quality, which is also important factor, but the number of issues which were found in that particular stage were slightly lower as compared to other 2 stages. And after doing this particular vendor rating was introduced. Many of you, if not all, already know about what this vendor rating, because you have participated in the first, which is a pilot step. So this vendor rating is now actually ready. Thanks to you, it has been refined. There are some improvements done already. And this vendor rating is now ready to be launched nationally. So how this vendor rating will be used? So it can be used by developers, investors, government agencies, many other customers to select a good quality vendor. And then how to select that, because the market is full of thousands and millions of such vendors. So this vendor rating framework will give a very good transparent review of the quality that each vendor represents. And that's why what we have done is not to give any undue advantages to very big companies over the new entrants or entrepreneurs. What we have done is more emphasis or more marks, if you may, are based on actual site quality. And that is why you must have experienced that even in tough COVID days, the Jeremy team had this site inspections. Many of your companies' representatives also may have accompanied them. And even in this COVID days, that was very essential, because that is the crux of the whole rating system. We don't want to go only with the documentation and how the design philosophy of the company and so on. But what we want to see, how each of you or how each vendor actually does on the site, whether he really practices whatever the design document says, whether he really values the quality and safety aspects on the site. And that's why more weightage for on-site inspection. Of course, after your pilot and after deliberations with task force of CII GBC, this weightage may be slightly changed, but the more focus, more emphasis definitely will be on on-site inspections. And this particular vendor rating will be valid for 18 months. But the beauty of this vendor rating is, even within those 18 months, there will be opportunity for the vendors to see that they can improve their rating. And how can they do that? They can improve quality on the sites, and they can request the inspectors from the vendor rating agency to come and inspect it. And there is a dynamic system where the rating of the vendor also can be improved. But similarly, if the same vendor is doing a bad work nowadays on site, there is a possibility that rating also can go down. So this is also a very good tool for vendors like you, and there are thousands of vendors in India who will also come to know how I fare in comparison with others, and where I'm missing my quality, what needs to be done, which are the things can easily be improved. And those things you will see when Akhilesh is going to present the findings. Lastly, I'm happy, and you must have already heard, that CII GBC is going to take this vendor rating system on national level, and they're going to launch it very soon, maybe and hopefully within a month. And then we feel and hope that this will become a very good tool for improving quality and safety. And it will be a very useful for the vendors also. It is not like some kind of, if I may use the word, Inspector Raj. It is not like that. It is definitely contributing to improving quality and safety of the systems, in which vendors will be equally benefiting. So this was a very brief background that I wanted to share with you, because today actually, after Akhilesh presents his particular findings of the pilot, the main focus or main interest that we have from today's event is listen to you, hear from you what was your experience, not only from the pilot, but on overall quality and safety aspects. You also must have thought, improved, learned, and brainstormed so many things yourself. So our major focus will be on that. But before that, definitely you will be interested in finding what has been revealed through the pilot test. So before handing it over to Akhilesh, back to Yogita.
Thank you so much, sir. Our next presenter is Mr. Akhilesh Magal. He is the head advisor solar energy for the Gujarat Energy Research and Management Institute. He's an environmental engineer from Carnegie Mellon University and is an expert on solar policies and grid integration of renewable energy. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Gita. Could you please bring up the presentation?
Presentation is with you. The same presentation which...
Is it? Let me try. I'm having some challenges, but Is my screen visible to all?
Yes.
It is.
Okay. Great. So I hope you can see my presentation.
No, it came and went. Now it's not seen.
Sir, I have started sharing that presentation.
Okay, we'll just try and work out why. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Okay. So thank you so much to USA, to Tetra Tech, to Arvind sir, for giving us the opportunity not just to present here today, but also I think to be a part of this very unique vendor rating framework, which I believe is the first of its kind in India. Of course, Arvind sir has really very nicely laid out the rationale behind the VRF and why we intend to bring it across different states in India. I will, of course, take you through the experience that we had as an inspector, as a research agency in understanding and inspecting the site, etc. We'll also discuss some interesting findings from the study and look at where we can go forward using this framework. We would be very happy to listen to all of the EPCs after my presentation. In the end, we want this to be a very interactive session. So this is the content. This is the content of the presentation. We look at the methodology that we followed. We look at the findings, some improvement factors that we feel are critical for the entire sector, and also then transition into how we can take this forward and get some of your suggestions as well. So what was the overall methodology that we followed? We really looked at how do we select the EPCs for this particular study. We inspected, and from the EPCs, we then select the sites. So we had a total of 10 EPCs and 5 sites each. So that's a total of 50 sites that we inspected. In the site visit, we had very detailed site visit questionnaires, measurements, and inspections using instruments and so on. We look at some of this in this presentation. And then, of course, we come back to the desk, look at all the data that we've collected, and then use the framework developed by CII, by USAID, and NREL to perform the analysis and then come out with the ranking for the EPCs. And finally, of course, we have the ranking. So while this is the pilot, what we want to do is also learn from this pilot, and a lot of the lessons that we learned would go into improving this framework. So in terms of the selection criteria, we had 5 overall selection criteria. First is a geographic distribution. This is, of course, a Gujarat-specific pilot, but we didn't want to, let's say, focus our efforts only to the big cities of, Ahmedabad or Surat or any of that. We try to spread out, or we try to look at variety of installations, both in the urban domain and as well as the semi-urban domains. The second was, of course, we tried to capture the EPCs from all categories in the JEDA, the category A, B, and so on. So we were not unfairly tilted to only the bigger or the larger EPCs. We wanted to have a much more even spread of it. The third criteria was really the type of installation. So are these residential installations? Are these commercial installations, the industrial installations? So we tried to, of course, in partnership with many of you, try to get some of the sites that could best capture this diverse spread that we wanted. The fourth criteria was on the system capacities. We were very interested to understand whether there is a difference in the approach, engineering approach, quality approach for smaller systems vis-a-vis the larger systems. So is there any change between a 1 to 5 kilowatt compared to a 500 kilowatt system? And there we really had some very interesting observations. And finally, we wanted to take the overall experience of the vendor in SPV installations. Is it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and so on? So is there any change in the overall quality metrics based on the age or the experience of the vendors? So based on these 5 criteria, we got, so the 50 sites that we selected were pretty, I would say, fairly distributed among these cities in Gujarat. And here you can see on your screen that we had Ahmedabad at about 26% of the sites, and Anand about 20%, Rajkot 18%, Surat 20%, and so on. So we had a fairly wide distribution across the state. In terms of the size distributions, we are out of the 50 sites, you can see from the first table on the top left, up to 3 kilowatt, we had 10 installations, 14 from 3 to 5, 11 from 5 to 10, and 8 between 10 to 5. Also, above 50 kilowatt peak, we had 7 systems. So I think the largest system went up to about 500 odd kilowatt. We inspected a total of 50 sites, and that came up to 2,120 kilowatt, or just over 2 megawatt. Out of which the non-residential segment was significantly higher, also given the fact that they tend to be larger in terms of installed capacity. So in terms of the category of EPCs, 90% of the EPCs that participated were in the category A, and 10% were in category B. These are the JERA categories. I think most of you are very familiar with this. These were of course, the EPC companies. We've already gone through them thanks to the certificate distribution ceremony. So I would skip this. Now, Arvind sir, I think, captured some of the criteria, but I would just go into a little bit detail without getting into unnecessarily depth at this stage. Essentially, we had 2 broad criteria on which points or marks were given. The first was the site inspection criteria. These were things like the solar modules, the module mounting structure, or the MMS, safety and accessibility of the site, cable management, inverter and protection systems, system performance and monitoring, especially on the data. Is the data available? Is it being recorded? Is the consumer aware of the data? And so O&M practices in terms of were the systems being clean? Were they well maintained? Another important aspect was the documentation. Were the warranty certificates and so on given to the clients, the consumers? Were they aware of what needs to be checked and so on? And finally, we also spoke to the consumers and got their feedback in terms of the overall happiness, overall satisfaction of not just the system, but also the interactions with the EPC companies. So these were primarily data that we had to get on site. So we visited 50 sites and got this data firsthand. The second is more desk-based work, which is technical financial criteria. This is essentially trying to evaluate the technical and the financial strengths of your companies. How financially sound are the companies? How many installations have you done in the last 3 years? Is there a growth? So on. What are the manpower? Do you have the necessary skill sets within the company to address some of the concerns? We also really looked at the HSE policy, the health and safety policies. Are they being followed? O&M manuals, checklists, and various documentations, as I mentioned earlier. Finally, we also looked whether any design simulation reports, for instance, through PVSys, other STAD reports, etc., has been done and provided to the clients. So these are the 2 broad areas in which our evaluation was based on. I would like to add some flavor to the presentation and not make it very boring. Look at some of the photographs. These are actual photographs that of the sites that we inspected. Here are some of the better installations, as you can see, and you can also see us measuring the current and so on using clamp meters. But we also, unfortunately, had some more challenging sites. So on the top left, you can see that accessibility is an issue because the modules have been mounted on the sloping roof. The key question is, how would you actually reach these sites to even clean it? And even if somebody did it, it would be very, very, very risky for the person who cleans the site. The second, on the top row, moving from left to right, you can see an instance of poor cable management. This could easily be improved without really any additional cost. So this was one significant error that we not just saw in this site, but repeated across several sites that we inspected. The image on the right side, the third from the left, you'll see the module mounting structure, of not really good quality, being welded, and already early indication of them being rusted. So MMS quality is certainly a very, very big issue. And in our opinion, this is one of the areas where compromise was seen. And we would really like to understand how we can, together work towards improving the quality of the MMS. We would really like to understand challenges of the EPC. Are there actually, challenges in doing in procuring really good MMS structures and so on. The second row, starting from the left here, you can see raised modules. Again, cleaning is a challenge. You can also see a certain curvature of the overall module mounting structures, which indicate that some of the civil strength designs have perhaps been compromised. The one on the right, again, to the image to the right, you'll see cables, laid out haphazardly on this industrial roof. This could again be easily managed with very little cost implication. Finally, you can see the inverter boxes being constructed out of wood, which represents a fire hazard. So these are some of the challenges that we experienced on the site. And as I said, these are things that could easily be improved. Now, here's the anonymized ranking of the EPCs, sorted in a descending order. You can really see that out of the overall 100 marks, 70 marks came from the actual site installations, as Arvind sir has mentioned, and 30 marks from the techno-financial evaluation, which is more a desk-based research. As you can see, the highest marks was 73.4 out of 100, and the lowest mark obtained was 44. We've, of course, anonymized the names of the EPC. One of the major concerns is, I think, lack of financial documents, which many EPCs, didn't want to share, understandably, of course. And so this has resulted in some of the EPCs scoring lower in this category. And even in the site inspection checklist, so the category out of 70 marks, we really see a large room for improvement in that. And so let's take a look at some of these room for improvements. So one good, on the positive side, we saw good practices for cable management in most of the EPCs, with the exception of one or two, with the use of cable ties and so on. The inverter and various protection systems like SPDs were again installed, which we really thought to be quite amazing, and hats off to most of the EPCs on that. We also found the engineering practices like the right azimuth, the right tilt angle, and so on, the right spacing between the modules to be quite good. So overall there, we didn't really face any significant challenges. We believe the major improvement points is really on system design data and documentation. So for instance, PV-SYS reports were missing for most of the sites. And this is really something that can easily be generated with a minimum cost impact. In fact, zero cost impact, if you can say. It just takes one engineer sitting on site to do that. The documentation and handover to the consumer was also one of the limitations that we found. Not many consumers were even aware of what the documents were saying. So there's some amount of hand-holding, which links to the last point, consumer training and awareness. I think this can easily be done. And from Germany's side, we would again be, being a training institute, would be very happy to support the EPCs in doing this. The second point, which is the MMS quality, the module mounting structure. I think this was one of the most critical points in the overall assessment. We really strongly believe that we need to improve this if these systems have to last for 25 years, even 15 to 20 years, in our opinion. So how can we actually improve the MMS? Welding seems to be a common practice. How can we actually ensure that the welded joints are also that they don't really face rusting and so on. So the MMS quality, we believe, needs to be improved overall. The third is safety and accessibility concerns. We saw a few photographs where some of the sites were, where the safety was compromised. We certainly understand that sometimes the consumers are very, very strong. They say, we really need the systems not to come in the way of access for the rooftop, for, I think, drying clothes, or for even flying kites during Uttarayan. We understand that these are some of the consumer requirements, and obviously as an EPC, you will cater to your consumers. But somewhere, if you can really ensure that even though you elevate these structures, the safety and accessibility components are really not compromised, then I think we could meet at a middle ground. The fourth point really is on the system performance. We saw very few data loggers, and in fact, even the consumers were not really aware, or they were not maintaining the data, or even aware of how much generation the systems, how much is to be expected of the systems. This is concerning because there's no way the consumers can actually understand what is the benchmark versus what is the actual performance, and if the performance is really low, how can they take necessary actions for the same. Earthing was indeed a big concern because not all the systems were earthed properly, and I think this is a significant risk in terms of safety, and I think this can be improved very easily, albeit at a cost. Finally, I think, as I've already mentioned, consumer training and awareness can be significantly improved, and we would be happy to look at measures in doing so. Let's look at all these categories within the site inspection checklist. So you see on the x-axis solar modules, module mounting structures, accessibility and safety, protection, system performance, and documentation. And mentioned, so on the y-axis, you have the 50 sites that we inspected. The frequency of occurrence of the challenge or the concern in one of these categories you can see on your screen. I won't really take you through all of them, but I'll highlight some of the most important. So the fourth from the left side, you see usage of plastic ties were actually missing, and so this is something that can easily be done. For MMS, I already mentioned coating, and it's the certification which validates the thickness of the coating was also missing in a large part of the sites. The STAT reports and the structural reports, again, is something which we find it not being done. Significantly important, especially during huge storms, where we saw in Gujarat a few years ago, I think 1 year ago, many of the modules were actually blown off the roof. How do we actually improve this is a critical thing for us, actually, critical concern for us. Finally, on the right side, on the documentation, you see the number of sites that reported errors was pretty high, so no generation data with the vendor or with the consumers. This is something that we can easily remedy. As well as the simulation reports, the PVSS reports were missing. And so I'd really like to listen and hear from the EPCs going ahead, from all of you, how we can actually go about doing this, and are there reasons why these were not done. We'll try to look at how easily we can correct some of these, if I can call them mistakes. And here you can see that most of them are in blue indicating that these are easy to correct and not very expensive. Use of cable ties, for example, are extremely inexpensive. Right? Each cable tie costs less than ₹1. So this can easily be done, and I hope that these practices will be employed going ahead in time. More so, some of them are really difficult. For instance, we understand module mounting structures. There's a huge variance in the quality and therefore the cost compared to the MS versus SS and so on. And so we really like to understand what your cost constraints are, and of course I understand L1 pressures. The lowest prices are ridiculously low. Some of you might have argued in the past, and we do understand it. So how do we actually go about improving quality while understanding the cost implications is something that's very important for us as well. Finally, I'd like to pose some questions which can perhaps serve as a good segue for our discussion going ahead. I think touched upon this. How can these quality metrics be improved? What is the cost of these improvements, and why are they not done so far? If they are to be done, then how can we move towards them, towards getting this done? Second is, how can quality be awarded in tenders? So how do we actually award EPC companies who are actually doing good jobs to get some kind of a preference in tenders? This has been a long-standing request of EPC companies, not just in Gujarat, but across India, saying, there are some EPCs who undercut us by quoting ridiculously low prices, and we are forced to then compromise our quality. So how can we actually work together, USAID, NREL, CII, Germany, all the EPC companies, MNRE, JEDA, and come out with a framework which actually favors EPCs that actually do a good job? Should we really relook at the L1? Should the L1 be also, should it also include, say, the VRF ranking, and the technical points? This is something that we can certainly discuss. What are the lessons for this from this pilot for a large-scale rollout? Would EPCs support this? What are your views on it? What are your, some of your concerns, some of your challenges that you face with such VRF from such a framework is something that we'd really like to understand. With that, I'd like to end my presentation and hand it over to Yogita, and I look forward to a fruitful discussion going ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akhilesh sir. Our next session is on discussions with EPC companies. This session will be moderated by Mr. Arvind Karandikar and Mr. Akhilesh. Before I hand the mic over to our moderators, I have a few housekeeping items to cover. If you have any questions during the panel discussion, please share your queries in the chat box. We'll be answering questions at the end of the panel session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Yogita. And and Akhilesh has given a very good background for the upcoming discussions, I think. I was on the verge of requesting him to keep that last slide on the screen, but I would resist from that. I don't think that we should go each question to answer that sort of thing. And I know that we all being in the business and very passionate about this solar rooftop systems business that we do, I am sure that everyone would have a lot of things to discuss here, to put forward their opinions, experience, and so on. So rather than we asking each and every one question, firstly, I would like to, if Akhilesh also agrees, I would like to make this particular floor open to anyone who really wants to share the experience and start himself or herself, and then we can take it from there. We know that there are about 8 to 10 EPC companies, plus we have all experts from USAID, CII, and Germany and the program. So maybe 5-7 minutes each of the EPC companies, if they can take and really discuss and share their experiences on the points that Akhilesh also mentioned on the last slide, it would be very good. So rather than we inviting anyone, is there any volunteer to start the discussion and keep the ball rolling? Everyone has a control of unmuting themselves, and definitely they can do so.
Well, Karandikar, I'm Dr. Jayakumar. Let me take your invitation first to get the ball rolling.
Sure.
Yeah. I think, first of all, I must appreciate the entire proceedings today, and it's been really going very well. And the way basically both you and Akhilesh presented, it gives an excellent flair in terms of a very, very difficult task, how you have achieved in a very, very simple manner. And it has been presented concisely well. I have two questions. In fact, one basically, Akhilesh talked about the quality of MMS structure. I think it's a very important point. All of us concentrate on the system design, everything else, and we take the MMS as take for granted. Now, what can be done? I don't have an answer, but I think it is very important, and minimum technical specifications have to be prescribed for MMS, the minimum guideline, which will ensure that the acceptability is good. I mean, this is very important as far as MMS is concerned, which we have also seen. The second point is, I'm just reminded of my 20 years of electrical maintenance experience, where in factories you have something called a boiler inspectorate. Now, what really happens is that it is not only the initial stage, the design and other things are being checked, but over a period of time, the inspectors come in, and every year the boiler inspector or the electrical inspector comes and checks the installation and issue a safety certificate. Similarly, you see, in the rooftop system, it is not an organized sector. The people can be anybody from a normal, simple householder to a commercial institution or a commercial organization. So one should think of developing an agency who will do this annual performance check and hold the EPC or the O&M contractor to bring it up to the level. So this is the second point. I thought I will just start with these two. Thank you very much.
Right. Both these aspects, issues are really important. And everyone, I think, knows about the importance of module mounting structures, and mainly when some accident happens, unfortunately. And about this recurring inspections, yes, actually that framework is not at all present as on today, even for on AC side of the rooftop systems in India, because we are just at the beginning of this development. But both the things are very important. So anyone from the EPC companies who would like to share, talk about these things or anything else?
Yes. Hi, Arvind. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Sagar Pipalia from Force and Solar.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would like to start that Dr. Jay Kumar rightly said that a plant must be inspected every year. There are agencies which are doing that, but as it is not mandatory, none of the companies nor EPC are following those practices. Okay, so if it becomes mandatory, then the thing will go the other way around. And second thing that we find challenging is none of the roof that we come across are identical. What we believe is that if we follow some standard practice of installations, we can have a good control on the quality part. But as all the roofs and all the establishments have different types of roof arrangements and azimuth, it's pretty much challenging to control the quality of the solar plants. So what we have how we have overcome this is by training, subcontracting, and more of in-house work, so that we can have a better control on the quality of the solar plants.
Right. This is very well said. About this, I have a small question to you, but also to others. I can see from your profile that you must have done about hundreds or thousands of systems by now. So within your company, as an example, I'm asking, has it been done that there are certain, at least say 5 or 6 standard MMS designs that are possible on different types of rooftops, or really you need to be specific to each and every roof again and again, you have to redesign? What is the scenario?
Even if there are similar roof, the design aspects changes almost every time because of the customer requirement. It would be if Germany we all our engineers have that book with them, and do follows the practices that which are mentioned in that book. So if it will be good if Jeremy can add more details on that manual as well.
That's a very good point. I think we'll be very happy to sit down with all the EPCs and get your actual inputs and changes that you want. We'd be very happy to come up with a second version of the manual, sir. We'll do that.
Second version of the manual should be more detailed than the first one.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
We can also focus on this grid connected plants only. The manual covers entire off-grid, hybrid, and on-grid solutions. If it can be good if we cover only the on-grid plants or commercial plants.
Yes, point taken.
Yes, thank you, Arvind. That's it from my side.
Great, thank you, Sagar. So anyone else? I can see names here. I don't know, Jeremy knows many of you, but I can see names, so I can request Brijesh Khanna, Azad Singh Zankar, or anyone, Gunjan Kapadia, anyone?
Yeah, I was wondering maybe we can invite the EPCs to say one or two quick words on, and we can maybe go in a list.
Sure. So Akhilesh, you can do that because you know all these people. I know only the names.
Okay. No, we can. So from Shashwat, Gunjan is there. Maybe Gunjan, you want to come in?
Yeah, I can see the name.
Am I audible, Gunjan? Are you there, Gunjan bhai? Okay, maybe not. So from our plug, is somebody here? Okay. So either I'm not being.
No, no, you are audible. Yeah.
Hello, I am Azad Singh Zankar from Equinox Solar.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, the main issues are what we are right now facing is none of the technical issues. It's the price war with the government. It's about the government's policy of using DCR modules, and the rate of that modules are far more higher than the regular modules. So practically the issues right now, even to follow good quality products, it's the rate. What government wants us to install the system and what actually the cost is. So if we generally what we are seeing in the market right now is that if we are provided with good rates, we are definitely going to provide good service and good products. But the issue is the benchmark, whether if I provide a Mercedes or a Maruti, I have to provide at the same rate. That's the biggest challenge what we are following, facing right now. That's my thing. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Kalpesh Patel, Solix Energy Limited.
Yes, please.
Yeah, good. Please go.
Yeah. Nowadays, we discussion of solar rooftop system and EPC company. But the government decide the price, and government decide the technology, also specification. Then the open the tender and may collect the rate. Then after the government bargaining the price, after tender open, then the government bargaining the price and reduce the price. The government main focus is reduce the price, not quality. How the company is provide the quality without price, without minimum margin, not higher margin, minimum margin, also not thinking the government. So we as per my experience, the solar market is after 2-3 years, you see the people are showing the solar people and fight with them, because the nowadays PGVCL tender 600, above 600 EPC vendor register, and so many people are coming for new people. They are electrical contractor, they have no company, they have no staff, they have no any other expenses, yeah, much more experience. Then they do work and they goes the market and give the rate, any rate. They want only order. That's why the government may, I request to you to push the government, make some specification, some criteria to do in solar rooftop work.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That's actually a very, very valid point. And I think this is a common, let's say, complaint from various EPCs, not just in Gujarat, but across India. The L1 system that is being followed by government, previously JEDA, now, of course, GUNL, is pushing down the quality. This is a common complaint that we hear from everybody. And now the real question is, and one of the reasons why we want to do the VRF is to tell the consumer that, see, there is a difference between a Maruti and a Mercedes, as the gentleman put it. So we want to certainly move towards a sector which is of a better quality. Now the real question is, if we are going to continue to give subsidy, which is a 30% subsidy plus 10,000 rupees per kilowatt from the Gujarat government, how will we decide the benchmark price? Because from the government side also, they need to determine the benchmark price, and only based on that they give a subsidy of 30%. So what are some of the ideas that you suggest to come up with a price which is also of a good quality? I'd like to get some views from the EPCs.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so government is again promoting a technology which is which is going to anyway get vanished within 3-4 years. Everybody is moving towards the mono technology here. Throughout the world, you will see that you will get mono, then you will get single shells, you will get different types of technology. But by introducing the DCR modules, government is only promoting the polycrystalline modules. What will happen is that market will get drenched into price wars. So the issue is right now to explain to the governments that we are stopping the technological advancement. It's just about price. It's no more about quality. It's just the price. That's the problem right now we are facing. Thank you, sir.
And a very, I think, very important point, because if you see the way the module sector is developing, you are moving towards monoperc and all of these bifacial especially. And these tend to be certainly more expensive than the commonly available modules that are available in the market today, polycrystalline modules. And so this is indeed a very good point that you raise. And we would really like to go to the government to highlight these issues. So in terms of, I think, whether it will be indigenously manufactured or it is imported, I think government wants to promote the so-called Make in India scheme, especially because subsidy is being given. The other option which many people are saying is to eliminate the subsidy program altogether. मतलब जो 30% का जो subsidy है उसको पूरे in totality to eliminate it. So this is another view that some people are suggesting. What are your views on it?
Akhilesh, I think government should fix the amount of subsidy, but they shouldn't fix the amount of system. That the way JEDA is doing in this EV vehicles, they are limiting the amount of subsidy. That is, for 3 kilowatt, they are going to give let's say for 3 kilowatt you are giving 40 or 45,000 subsidy, okay, but you shouldn't limit the benchmark cost. If the customer wants to opt for Tata, if the customer wants to opt for Vikram, or if the customer wants to opt for some tier B modules, then it's their choice. Presently what we are forcing the customers, we are limiting them to selected modules and selected inverters only.
I understand. So basically what you're saying, Sagar bhai, is to fix a subsidy amount per kilowatt, yes. But then yes, if the consumer is going for a more expensive module, he can go but get minimum of subsidy, correct?
Exactly, yes, sir.
Okay.
Akhilesh,
please.
Sorry, you were saying something?
No, I wanted to bring you in and you spoke at the exact time. So please go ahead.
So see, all of you, like whoever talked right now, we understand that lot of things need to be done at different levels, and government is one major stakeholder or player in the whole thing. But I have 2-3 other points. Probably everyone may not like it. We are in Gujarat, so definitely Gujarat right now being a residential rooftop solar market, and that too subsidy market. We are talking only about that, and that's where we want to and can definitely blame the government. But you will understand that even in government's plans for next 2 years or so, out of overall the target of 38 gigawatt, that means 35 gigawatt, maybe 5 gigawatt has already been done. Subsidy will be provided only for 4 gigawatt, only for 4,000 megawatt. So first point I bringing on, I don't know about how much percentage in Gujarat I can talk about with you EPC companies, but there is also non-subsidy market. Secondly, we have also found in other states where subsidy market is not so high as probably in Gujarat. Even then, the quality is not really the thing that everyone looks at. That means compromises are being done there also. And I'm using the word compromise because many of you have expressed that because of price pressure, we need to compromise that. So my first point is that what about non-subsidized systems, and what about open market sort of systems where you can definitely go to the customer talking about quality? What has been your experience about that? That is my first question. Anyone can answer that. But before that, a second question I have is again a slightly maybe a troublesome question. When you say that because of price pressure you need to compromise on quality, I would like to really understand what compromises you do and you are ready to do, and what compromises you do not do in quality because you want to meet the prices. So if anyone can answer one or two or both of these questions, I will be very happy. I think many of you have non-residential systems as well, right? So what was your experience there? Because those are definitely not subsidized systems.
What actually happens, sir, again, Azad Singh here. So compromise is what we generally see in market is, for example, if we are doing a 500 kilowatt commercial project and the competitor has given a X price and we have to match that. Generally happens is that we forward this project to a smaller installer. So those installers don't follow all the checklist, or they are not well trained, and all those issues crop up generally. That's the major issues we see. And other things we see is the earthing system, where people generally do compromise. Because what we feel at the system is that nowadays we are also seeing that people are not installing the DC side protection devices, or DCDB, what we call. They have totally chucked out that protection devices. So such practices are being used right now. Removing the DCDB side, then the earthings are being done less. Even the lightning arrestor are being used as conventional lightning arresters are being used, not the ESE ones, which are the early streamer ones. And the installation teams or the manpower which are provided are less experienced, or who does the work in a cheaper way. Those are the malpractices which are going right.
Right. This is very interesting experience or answer that you gave. So when the price is not right, many companies download that work to some local person or local company or local firm, which may not really look at the quality of work and all that. So that is one reason. Very well taken and very interesting. And secondly, you said definitely one of the first casualties in compromises are these protection systems. And as it is in India, we are not very enthusiastic about any protections. Maybe it's insurance or fire protections or whatever. So we can easily do away with the lightning arresters and earthings and all that. And probably what I'm thinking is, even the consumers will not pressure you for that, right? Consumers are also okay that, yeah, here because of something you are not able to do earthing, वो भी बोलते हैं हाँ छोड़ दो चल जाएगा, कहाँ पे accident होता है, that sort of thing. So is that right? These both things were very interesting to understand. Anyone else? I think Mr. Viraj Shah, I can see your name if you want to share something, or Miss Vaidehi.
Well, Karandikar.
Yeah.
To fill the gap, I think there is a vacuum. So I thought
sure.
We need to keep the dialogue going. So Jayakumar here. You see, one of the things that generally happens in electrical maintenance in any factory is that irrespective of the engineers or anybody, the man or the contractor who does the maintenance, he should have what is known as a C license, which is issued by the inspectorate. I mean, that was there earlier, and now it may be in a different form. Now, while we have taken this basically your vendor rating for EPCs, I think most of us know, as somebody mentioned just now, that the EPC consists of two parts. One is the one who is taking the order developing the design, procuring the modules, inverters, maybe structures and supply. And the real the entity which is installing is probably different. It goes through various hands and go to the last mile. Now, would it be better to think of some kind of a installation and commissioning license for solar PV system? And basically, if you're talking about either net metering system or everywhere, the local inspectorate comes into picture. So make it a point that the contract has been installed by the installation commissioning contractor should be holding this license. You see, if you look at Skill Council for Green Jobs, they already have a course for certification of installation and commissioning. So a installation and commissioning contractor should have at least one or two basically certified persons to carry out installation. That should become a prerequisite, which is required by the inspectorate to sanction. This may probably improve the quality of installations.
Yes, actually, many people have been thinking of various possibilities, various requirements, and what you said definitely are out of those. That means what happens, only problem with that is certification or inspection becomes only that. That means a tick mark by someone that somebody has done that. Really speaking, if EPC companies themselves can willingly improve the qualities of their own installations, that's the only answer, which will be long term, maybe slow to start with, but it will go on long term. But as you rightly said, there may be a requirement that at least not to have very bad quality and very unsafe systems, some inspection, some certification, licenses, those things may be required. And we hope that government or government bodies, state governments or discoms or anyone, authorities, don't have to do that. And that actually the responsibility lies with the EPC players. I think you understand what I'm saying, but this is for other people, that don't let all the authorities say that because you are doing something not correct, we want to inspect and certify each and every system. That is actually not a good scenario to happen. I think Sharadji wanted to say something.
Yeah, Arvindji, my opinion on this, I think I quite agree with what Mr. Jayakumar is saying, with the difference that, I don't want license Raj to be coming in here. But see, the problem is the EPC companies have a genuine problem. They, at one side, the costs which are emerging at which customers are willing to place an order is reducing. And at the same time, everyone is talking about quality, which is not being maintained. So I think one push can be given from the customer side, that if they are made aware of a model specification and a minimum standard which they will insist on, that can probably solve a problem. For example, whoever enters my home or my site to do the installation must have a skill council certificate. So if he's an electrician, he has to, first show me that, and then he enters my premises to do the installation. That is one, so that, only skilled, authorized and competent manpower enters his premises. That is one. And if there can be some agency from MNRE or some agency which can bring out a model specification document for, see, most of these problems actually are with the small customer and a medium sized customer. Large companies and large customers, they have the wherewithal to have a department of their own who will do all this checks. The problem is with residential sector, people don't know what solar is, and they are just taken away by whatever the nearest EPC company tells him. And so if there can be a model document which can be circulated in the public, that if you are going ahead with a solar PV, please check this, a checklist. Whoever comes for installation, check the competence of the manpower, check this, check this, check this, check this. And if there can be a low cost third party inspection agency which can help these guys with a minimal cost, let's say 5,000 rupees, if that guy can come and inspect the workmanship, etc., even that can help. So such systems can probably be done at a low cost. That's what my opinion is. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. No, I take your point, and many such things are definitely possible and also necessary. In Gujarat, particularly, you may be knowing that all these subsidized systems, at least there was and there is, I think, a system of inspections being done by third party. And fortunately, Germany was one of such organizations which was doing inspections on behalf of JEDA before, I think, the last disbursement was also made. So I would like to hear from Akhilesh or even Gaurav, what was your experience and anything that you want to say here about these inspections and how it is useful or not or whatever.
So Arvind, sir, if I can come in, Akhilesh here. I think it's a fine balance between having some sort of regulatory checks and overdoing it and placing a burden on the EPCs. Like I currently know that some of the EPCs are also having some challenges with the CEI inspection, for example, the certificates, and so that can be an additional challenge. So how do we strike this fine balance between having an over-regulated environment versus a completely unregulated environment? I think we are right now, we all recognize the issues of quality. As I think Mr. Saxena was also saying, one thrust that all of us, at least in Germany, are working on is in consumer awareness, working with EPCs. So more a bottom-up approach. At the same time, it should be augmented by top-down strategies through better control of quality. So I don't think there's a silver bullet kind of an answer that will solve it, and it's really a heuristic, learn as you go kind of an approach. But what we could start, and I think what the VRF will do, is at least give a sense of measuring that quality, and give EPCs a comparative advantage of saying, okay, we may be in an over-regulated or under-regulated environment, but at least EPC 1 is better in terms of quality compared to EPC 3. I think that indication should place internal pressures within the EPC, within the market of various EPCs to improve themselves. And of course, we will be here as a research organization, as other bilaterals, to handhold EPCs to help them where we think it's necessary. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. And just to add to that, my experience was about what Eminari also tried to do. Many of you must have seen the not latest, about 5-6 months back, the solar pump specifications only for the MMS. If you have seen the document, they have gone ahead, maybe they have taken, not maybe, they have taken professional help and so on. And they have gone ahead defining each and every member component of the structure so that it is not left to each and every vendor to design his own or her own MMS for solar pumps. So at the government, they are doing what they can do, but yeah, price pressure definitely is the doing of this subsidy framework and all that. So we all know that they have their own limitations also. Many discussions have taken place with authorities, including MNRE and many the DISCOMs or SCRCs, about this price and the benchmark cost and all that. So there are other issues that they have also to look at, not only the solar industry and the quality, but also to the consumers. And consumers, when they look at the government, they always look at some guiding prices and guiding benchmark cost so that they don't feel cheated by the vendors. So that was also another interest of consumers that every authority needs to understand and put forward. So that was also another aspect from the authority side. So, but what you are saying is right. The inspections and your experience, yes. If we can achieve good balance, and maybe we always have said that there is no single solution to this particular problem. There has to be a combination of many things. So, and that is why this particular exercise, to understand what more should be done and what can we start with. Viraj bhai, Mr. Virasha, I saw you unmuting yourself. So if you want to talk, I think you can unmute again and talk.
Sir. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible. Yes.
I wanted to add on things that I feel so. We as a EPC company focus on adopting latest technologies for as soon as possible. So right now for our commercial installations, we are using about 400 watt peak panels and all. So don't you think that in the subsidy schemes and all, focus should also be put on the technology? Because right now in India, we are stuck with 330 watt peak poly modules and all.
Yes, no, definitely. Definitely, I feel that we should be going with the latest technology and mono PERC and bifacial and so on. But
because that's the future, and currently we are around 1 or 2 years behind the world. So I think more focus should be put on those technologies as well. And for conditions of in Gujarat, what kind of modules do you think are preferable, poly or mono?
Akhilesh, Gaurav.
Well, it's always a difficult question to answer. Which is better, poly or mono? I don't think there is a simple answer to it, because even if you look, it really depends upon the company, and even within the company, we have found various variation in quality, depending on even the batches.
So the biggest advantage of mono PERC is that you get to install more capacity in lesser space. So that's the biggest advantage of using mono panels.
Absolutely, the efficiency is what needs to be seen. But you also have a cost implication. Number one. Number two, sometimes even though the efficiency stated on the data sheets are one, we have in reality observed that the modules don't perform as said by the manufacturer. So there's a huge variation within the batches also. Number two, then of course the construction integrity in terms of snail trails or micro cracks can easily develop even within, we have observed once it has been shipped from the factory and it has come on site. When you take a thermal imaging camera and see, already you're seeing the, you're seeing the challenges. So I think you have to look at it in a much more broader perspective, as opposed to just saying which is better or, going through a data sheet and coming to a conclusion. This would be my opinion.
Another practical issue we face is that most of our installations are on a very elevated structure, and like the structures are really difficult to fabricate, and so our workers have to work in a very risky condition. And so then at some sites the workers are forced to climb on the modules and do the installation. So is there any solution for that? Because I guess because I believe that climbing on the module is not suggestible, is not recommended.
Definitely not. That is the first thing that you have to. Yes. And actually, I have seen that. Sorry, Akhilesh, 1 minute. I have also seen the module manufacturers doing that themselves. The bad thing is that to tell everyone that how strong my solar module is, I have seen them stomping on the solar module, which is very bad because you cannot see micro cracks which can be developed because of that. And consumer will face it only after 3-4 years, and then no one will actually support that particular consumer. So you are right. Never a person should stand on any solar module, and unfortunately, that is not practiced. I have seen that many people, even in O&M, doing that, and people from good companies. So you have to actually invest something on walkways, on railings, and design it in such a way that a person can do everything without walking on the module and so on. But yes, then there will be a cost, but you should stuck to that particular cost, because otherwise what you are giving is already damaged module to the consumer. Sorry, Akhilesh, you were also saying something.
No, I just wanted to say pretty much the same thing. So you have covered the point quite effectively.
I think Gaurav, you want to come in?
Yes, sir. I want to tell about the quality of the quality and the performance that is generated by the solar PV system. So as we have talked about the quality aspects, if we don't have the data that how much our system is generated, how we can improve. So that is that on that topic we have discussed a lot. So this practice is not majorly we have seen in EPCs. So how we can what are the challenges with the EPCs? So this is a great platform to learn from all the EPCs. Why these data collection methods and the performance by the systems? Is there any mechanism that we can solve and we can implement in the market?
Yes, sir. Can I speak for this point?
Yes, please.
Yes, Azad Singh here again. So the
Yeah.
issue is that we are supposed to provide the data monitoring system. We do provide it. Generally, the issue comes the providing the internet service connectivity. Generally, client does it for 1 year, then he himself stops it because the internet connectivity is in his scope. So generally, that's the main issue we face. Otherwise, we are very much into, we have created, in my case, we have created a single website for the all sites to monitor it. The issue is the connectivity is provided by the client himself. So that becomes a challenge for us as a EPC. We cannot collect the data because we are not going to provide them the internet service, right? So that is the biggest challenge in this country. Yeah.
Yes, but that means that customers themselves are not interested in knowing how much the system is saving for them or how much the system is generating. And even with reducing costs of this internet and Wi-Fi and other things, even then they are not ready to even invest that much. That is what your findings are. Otherwise, this central monitoring system
In
would be
commercial
actually a
projects,
very good.
commercial projects, we do find people following it because they have a setup of a Wi-Fi or whatever. They do follow it. But when you talk about residential systems, if you provide it by a SIM card, they generally don't follow by paying that SIM card services. They stop, they say that we'll go upstairs and check. We also have seen in our own sites that when we go on site, we get to know that the system is not working since 2 months because the customer has stopped the internet services. And we just go there to check randomly, and we find out that system was shut down from 2 months, and nobody was nobody informed us. So such a
Okay, yeah, that is interesting. I think Nilesh Bhai, you had said something in the chat box. So if you can unmute and talk about that, some solution that you have mentioned there. Nilesh Talavia, are you there? Hello.
Perhaps he's not here, Arvind sir.
Oh, okay.
So just to make a point about the data, I think today the cost of data, I think there are also some SIMs available for data only SIMs. So these are really very, very reasonable if I'm correct. Less than 100 rupees per month or something can this cost not be a part of the overall system cost? Would it be so high to expect the EPCs to bear it?
Sir, I want to add one or two lines. Many of the sites we have seen the inverters with the Wi-Fi connectivity and the mobile applications. So the consumer and the EPC contractor can also check their data, how the system is generating.
No, but the question is, Gaurav, whether they are using that. That means whether the consumer is using that, whether they are really monitoring, whether the EPC companies are monitoring the performance, even after 1 year. That is the question.
Okay.
No, so what is your experience? That is the question means, what's your experience?
Sir, at the sites from this inspection, almost most of the EPC contractors does not have that data, that how much their system is generating. So that part we all have to look into. And the other point also I want to raise is the documentation part, because EPC is telling that all the documents we have given or to the customers, but at the inspections it should be there, or they should be aware about that documentation part, how much warranty period is there and all that different aspects. So that is also we have to look into.
Right. So I think we have last about 5-7 minutes. So if I can really again request Vaidehi, I can see her name here, to talk. Someone else who has not, Nilesh Bhai, I think the voice is not audible. So if they can also contribute something, their experience.
Right. If there are also comments out after this, after this meeting, we'd be very happy to hear from you. So feel free to email any one of us.
Yes, right. That is correct. So,
hello.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Today, 9 EPCs have participated in this event. So.
Okay. No, that's good. Actually, this event was or is for them. So at least whoever has participated, the discussion has been good. Not everyone can participate. There may be some problem with their engagements or even the network and all that. So that is okay. We are all experiencing these very different types of meetings everywhere, and that is the new normal nowadays. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
About this, I have a question about this program. How often is it possible for you guys to carry out inspection? For example, you had conducted this inspection in September. Now, if I want you to invite for after rectifying the mistakes and based on your observations, I want to do a follow-up inspection. And is there any particular time intervals that you have planned, that every quarter or every month or every year?
Very good question. Actually, what we have designed in this particular framework is we also need to consider the vendor rating agencies' requirements and their manpower, their costs, and so on. But we also wanted to give flexibility. So what we have done, that even if once rated, the vendor rating will be valid for 18 months, all the systems, all the required number of systems will not be rated initially itself. We'll be inspecting only 50% of necessary systems at the beginning, and after 6 months, again we will be inspecting balance 50% for a particular vendor. That means out of total number of systems that are to be inspected. So this is from the vendor rating agency point of view. But we also may give, of course, we are still designing that, and CII, GDC also have to design and accept this. But the vendor also can come back maybe after a quarter or again 6 months, saying that, yes, earlier my rating was so and so, and my findings on my sites was so and so. But now, as you rightly said, I am confident that we have improved our systems. So why not have another inspection or re-inspection? So that particular thing will be based on requests from the vendors. So this is also we are sort of building in the vendor rating systems. This is very important point that you have mentioned, because as I said at the beginning, vendors also should get something from this system, right? Rating system, so that they can also say that yes, improvements have been there, and that's my vendor rating, that's my rating has improved. So definitely we will be doing that. I
And
think it will be
also,
about 6
I have
months.
one,
But yeah,
and I also have one small suggestion.
sure.
You can, whilst selecting the sites, you can also ask the vendor to give you some site that is 3 or 4 years old or 1 year old, or the oldest site, so that we can know what actually happens to the system 3 to 4 years down the line. Because when the system is new, the generation and everything will be working perfectly. So we'll be
Yes.
able to get insight on micro cracks and everything if the system installed is longer than 2 to 3 years.
Right. Perfect. So
So
the selection of sites will also be dependent on the age of the systems, as you have rightly said. And that has actually come out as a finding or as a suggestion from this pilot. So thanks to all of you and Jeremy that this particular suggestion has come out from the pilot. So we'll be doing that definitely.
thank you. Thank you.
So Akhilesh, if you want to add something, anyone else wants to add something, or then we can request Sharad ji to say. Yeah.
I think it's been quite a good discussion, sir. We've actually noted down some of the points. We would encourage all the EPCs to please stay engaged and continue this conversation. I think this is the beginning of a larger effort to improve quality in the country. But I think I would really like to thank all the EPCs for their participation as well. So maybe we can hand it over.
Yes, and before that, I would like to say sorry to Nilesh Talavia. He has again written that I am here, but some technical problem is there, so he cannot talk. But as Akhilesh has rightly said, you can also communicate to either of us, any one of us, after this event also. And we will always be there to suggest, to help, to advise, whatever you need. So thank you very much. So Sharad ji, can you? Yeah.
Thanks, Arvind, and thanks, Akhilesh, for giving me an opportunity. Let me start by thanking the brilliant efforts made by USAID and also Jeremy in bringing this vendor rating framework to the stage to which it has reached. The task force, as a member of the RE Council and also as a member of the task force, I know what we have gone through in the last 3-4 months. Things could have been faster if this COVID had not limited us to talk only on Zoom meetings. And if we were able to meet personally, I think things would have been faster developed in this direction. But nevertheless, I think it has reached a stage now, and the task force today, I'll be talking about how we move ahead and what we have done. The task force has reached a stage where it has taken decisions regarding the parameters, the weightage into technical, financial, and the performance related on-site things. And the last thing which is left is exactly how to provide points as benchmarks. And I think half the work is done, and we should be finishing it by this month end. But the major challenge after all this document has been prepared about benchmarking and the point system is the rollout plan. which I believe what we need to do now uh, is to identify the possible vendor rating agencies or pan India. And once we do that, we have to have a criteria of how to select them. We need to have a plan to do orientation and training of their manpower, so that the whole vendor rating procedure and the processes are such that there is minimum subjectivity, and it is so well laid out for everyone that a vendor rating agency X would provide the same rating to the vendor as vendor rating agency Y. So we should reach a situation how it can be done through training and through this, and only then we reach a stage of a launch where we can then seek applications from the vendors. And before that, we have to estimate costs, we have to decide what fees to be charged for each type of vendor. Of course, there will be small vendors, there will be medium vendors, and large ones who will do utility scale, etc. So I have some suggestions on this, and also the awareness. The most important part is this whole vendor rating system is more relevant, in my opinion, to the small customer, to the residential sector, and the medium-sized customer. So if they are confident of moving ahead in this direction, whether with subsidy or without subsidy, and they know that if they can get a good EPC vendor to do the work on their roofs, we will see a lot of growth in the solar rooftop sector in the country. And this, I think, would be a success of vendor rating framework. If it is serving only the large companies, etc., then I think the success will be relatively less. The success would depend upon if lot of people in B towns, C towns, and also in the larger towns come forward and get installations on their rooftops. Uh, I would not like to dwell upon how the costs affect quality when the costs are driven by tenders, but there is, as uh, Arvind said, that there's a vast non-subsidy market, which I think many EPC players should be concentrating more on rather than only the government and the tender market. And my personal opinion is that if the subsidy actually gets removed, market forces will compel the costs to reach a level which will be affordable for many, and the quality will then take care of itself by increasing the awareness amongst the small customer and the medium level customer on what to look at. A common man, even if he is well educated, has very little knowledge about the solar system and the installations and what he should look at. If there can be an agency either promoted by MNRE or by CII or anyone else, which can provide this awareness to these people in terms of either a model specification document, what minimum has to be checked, what type of people should be working on his project, and if the competence of manpower also can be checked by him by an easy method, and if someone can hold his hand by doing a inspection at low cost. Now if the system is totally costing only 1 lakh rupees, no one would want to give 20,000 rupees for doing that inspection. So if that can be done in a cost of anything between 2 to 5,000, many people will come in and say, please inspect whether this EPC player has done a good job or not. There can be a helpline number whom people can talk to and ask questions when they get a proposal from an EPC company. If they can ask questions from a helpline, even that can help. So I suggest we should look at these out of the box ideas and try to implement a few of them, which doesn't cost much, and maybe a portal where people can register and find who are the vendors who are rated high in their this thing. Now this portal can also generate inquiries for for vendors who are registered at this portal, and many more things can be done. So the way ahead, I think, is quite many things can be done, and I believe if we can reach a stage of launching this in the next 4 to 5 months by doing all these things, it would be a success. Yes, Arvind.
Thank you, Sharat ji. All very well made points and all important. And thank you so much for making a summary of.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much, and that's why. Oh yes, you are audible, Nilesh ji.
Yes, thank you, sir. Resolve some technical problem.
Yes.
Now I want to add one two point. I want to add 1-2 point in quality as well as Mr. Viraj said that we must climb on elevated structure. I want to add in these 2 points. First one is in elevated structure. I have one solution that we can install elevator structure from downside with mid clamp setup. You can contact me after some time. And second one is if when we talk about quality, if there is a customer and we require some awareness from customer, and even in a government project or like a PGCL tender or subsidized project, we can add one form in customer end that that is checklist, and sign that checklist from customer side and upload or revert to the government authority, like quality or checklist given by authority to customer end, and they will sign with checklist and revert to government authority. It is one type of awareness in quality, as well as we can assure quality and workmanship at a time. I think it is good for it.
Thank you very much. Yes, your point is right, and for everyone's benefit, we have taken notes of all these discussions. We are also recording this particular discussion, so definitely we will make not only minutes, but we will see how many of these suggestions can be acted upon, and definitely we will act upon those. So Nilesh bhai, thank you very much. And now I think I would like to conclude this particular session, which was very helpful. And
excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have one thing. Can you share the findings personally to each and every company? I think it's a pilot project, so you won't be announcing it publicly, right? So we can understand where we will can improve. So if you have given some rating to a particular company, if you can share it personally to their own ratings and findings to each and every 10 companies, by participating, at least we can have this improving aspect with us.
Akhilesh, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, I think if all the partners are okay, we would be very happy to share a one-to-one, communication on various improvement areas.
Yes.
We can do this. No problem.
At least we want to know the ratings personally. I mean to say is you won't announce it publicly. I'm aware about it, as it is a pilot project. But as you have given that 10 companies and you have given the ratings, at least we at a position, we are handling a big organization, then we would like to know where I myself or my company is lacking. So that's the point of participating, right?
Yes, yes. Point well taken. Right.
We will maybe in the next few days, we will receive an email from Gaurav Patel from Germany, and we can give you a 1 or 2 page observations of each of the EPC of your particular sites. That would be fine. And we'll also include the rating. Not a problem.
Okay, great.
And the complete report without, of course, the names is also available for free download on PACE-D website. So that also report you will have access to, but of course there are no names in that. But as Akhilesh said, for particularly your company and everyone, they will be sharing that report on email. So
thank you.
Yes, yeah, thank you. And as I think
Excuse
the
me, sir.
PACE-D.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir, I want to. I'm Nilesh Dalave here. I want to add 1-2 points. At the inspection time from Germany, there is COVID situation, and due to COVID, I think many of companies cannot provide proper documentation due to quarantine and everything situation. If now it is possible for documentation side, if there is some pending document is there, can we provide it, and can you rating on that point?
See, what I would suggest on this particular point is that firstly, within CII, GBC, and we all ourselves will discuss whether this particular rating will be accommodated in the newly launched or newly to be launched rating system. If that is the case, definitely you will be, or maybe not definitely, maybe you will be given a second chance to improve it by submitting documents. If not, then as it is, this particular exercise will not be sort of published and your rating will not be valid for the to be launched system. And then there will be a new rating, new inspection, new site selection be done. So either of these two things, definitely we will communicate to you through Jeremy, through Akhilesh and Gaurav. We will communicate to you, and then you will be definitely be given chance to improve on both the cases. And as everyone at USAID PhD team knows that we had been working on this quality and safety aspects, as well as the VRF and few other possible suggestions, solutions for last 2 years. And now we know that the program is coming to an end, but this VRF is actually just being started now. And we are very happy that CII GBC has taken it up. Today's participation by Dr. Jaykumar and Mr. Sharat Saxena was very good. I can see Apurva was also there, and Ravi, who could not be here, but he has been instrumental in coordinating the whole CII team and the team that developed this particular framework. So I thank each one of them. Devina Prakhar and my friend and ex-colleague Ronnie Khanna, who is not here right now, we had been working on this framework for 2 years, and I thank the whole team. Of course, the team are the host of this. Yogita has done splendid job. I was not aware how this certificate distribution and book launch can be done electronically. So we are all learning new things every now and then. So thanks, Yogita, for everything. And of course, all the participants, the EPC vendors, as well as our friends Akhilesh and Gaurav. So thank you everyone. And I think we can conclude this session unless Yogita, if you have something to say, otherwise we can stop this particular session. Thank you everyone. Yogita?
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you then. Bye.
Thanks everyone. Thank you. Bye.